Okay, hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson, and welcome to tonight's version of the weekly live webinar for the Investor Agent Training Program. And as usual, we have people in here who are taking the FLIP program currently and have in the past taken the program on buying rentals. Those are specifically designed to focus just on those subjects, a lot more in depth, okay? Through the Investor Agent program, of course, you get the fundamentals, you get what's necessary to be able to operate out in the field and be able to walk the talk, service your clients, and learn yourself, obviously, too. Tonight, what we're going to go over is two basic processes. Number one is we're going to go over what you do in the very beginning. This is essentially when you first get started. What do you do? And a lot of it has to do with managing and maintaining your contact management system. We're going to go over that a little bit. It's been a while since we've done that, and I've been getting a lot of questions on that. So I thought I would go over that tonight. Also, I've been getting a lot of questions on the calculators, the Opportunity Evaluator, which is the Excel spreadsheet that everybody gets. That's a separate deliverable that comes, I think, either with your first or second module. Okay, we're going to go over that, do some examples, and I'm also going to do the Rental Property Reporter, which is another calculator designed to evaluate rental properties. Okay, it's just a different view, a different format. It gives you some different results. It's pretty cool tool. And then finally, we're going to go over the ARV. Actually, I might do that first. In fact, the ARV is the after repair value and MAO, maximum allowable offer formula, which is very simple, and that's what's used for flips. So we'll do that, and we'll go over it. We have a couple of emails to go over also, so we'll go over those. So right now, let me double check here for current questions, and I want to go back to, I think Ricardo's was the first one. So Ricardo asked a question here, when creating the school report, and he uses the term high school report because, again, in some parts of the U.S., it's better to use the high school code as opposed to the school code. And again, for those of you in Canada, you don't typically have that. I mean, we've looked at the different systems up there. For the most part, you use what we call the area number, not area code as in a telephone area code, but the MLS area value. You use that to build the area report, okay? So within that, let's just keep going here. Within that report, what do you mean by active within the last 90 days? And actually, active is just simply active, Ricardo. So it doesn't matter when it became active. So within this context, listing data is really not necessary or not pertinent. What's important is we just want to know what's currently active now, how many properties are currently active now, okay? So don't really need to know how long it's been active. And when it comes to sold, let's see here. I just want to keep reading this question here. Okay, and he's saying, or simply properties with a current active status. Yes, so we're looking at properties simply with a current active status. Now, the next question is, what do I mean by sold within 90 days? And literally, that's what I mean. So on virtually every MLS system I've seen, Ricardo, no matter where you are, you can do a report on solds, and you can go back, 30 days, 90 days, a full quarter, a half a year sometimes, and a full year. You can even go back 2 years. You also have customization features that allow you to go back a particular number of days. Like you can go back only 7 days or 21 days. You can go back into prior years. You can set your calendar to go back 5 years sometimes. So I like to use 90 days for solds because that's a good typical time frame that works in most parts of the country. Now, having said that, Ricardo, and for everyone else, if you're in a market right now, and there are a couple of markets like this, there's the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, up into Toronto, the Toronto area. There are areas where days on market is unbelievably small. I mean, we're talking like 3 to 11 days, okay? So in that case, I might make that on the school report, Ricardo, I might go back only 30 days on solds, okay? So the number of days you go back on solds, the time frame for solds, really can be customized depending on where you are and what type of market you're in. There are some markets where, days on market is still 60, 90 days on average. That's the average. So what you want to do is look at your board's average days on market. That's what you want to do originally, Ricardo, and then make your school report or area report reflect that average. So if your average days on market right now collectively, that's what I mean collectively across all solds, is 30 days and it's consistent, then maybe make your report only go back 30 days for solds. Okay, if it's greater than that, between 30 and 60, use 60 days. If it's between 60 and 90, use 90 days, which is a quarter, which is what I use, which is pretty much gives me everything I need to know, because in a quarter, I get enough of a trend and I avoid the peaks and the ups and downs. Like, you might have a slow week because of Thanksgiving, a slow week because of Christmas and New Year's. I like to do 3 months almost regardless sometimes of what the economy is doing. So I have a more full picture. That's why I use 90 days. So when I'm looking at solds again, Ricardo, excuse me, I'm just looking at what's sold. I really don't care about anything else other than the fact that it's sold within 90 days, for example. Okay. Now, Ricardo's also saying on melissadata.com, he clicked on the carrier link and got a list with each line having an individual location map link. When I click on the map, only one location pin comes up in the map, not a route of any kind. Okay, that sounds a little unusual. That sounds like what we see up in Canada. In Canada, it's a little bit like that. We have to go through of actually more steps to get to that level, but it's certainly worth it to do that. We used Canada Post to do that up there. In the States, though, you typically would get the actual route. So I'm going to have to play with that, Ricardo. If we have time tonight, let's get back to it. I'll see if I can bring it up on my computer, bring up the actual link and see what we get there. If not, I'll do it tomorrow, because I'm not teaching till late tomorrow. And if there's any type of an update necessary, I'll make sure I get that to you. Okay, let's see here. Peter asked for my number, so I gave that to everybody. And let's see, Susan is asking, when do I drive on Sunday? So we covered that. And so active equals current. Yeah. So if in your MLS system, Ricardo, you don't have a status that says active, but it says current, that's what you want to use. Almost always it's going to say active as an active listing. Okay, almost everywhere I've been, actually. Okay. In solds, it doesn't matter the listing date. That's correct. Yeah, I don't really care about the listing date, Ricardo. I just want to know that it's sold. And because of the way the MLS systems are designed, you don't have to look at individual listings. You're looking for the amount of listings, how many listings are active, how many listings are sold, and it should be in the tens or dozens or 20s or even hundreds, that level. So you don't care about individual listing dates. You're just looking to see. You want to tell the computer, you want to tell the MLS system, give me what's sold, tell me the number of sold properties in the last 90 days. So theoretically, yep, you're going back 90 days. You could say we're going back to a particular date and time. But every time you produce this report, you're in a different time frame. So I just use the MLS system the way it's designed and tell it to give me everything in the last 90 days. And that's what I do. Okay. Okay. Let's go into some of the content for tonight. And I'll continue to look for questions. And we're going to cover one section first, and then I'm going to check in on emails. Actually, let me do this. Let me go check the emails first here. Hang on one second. I need to bring this up. Okay, so this is an email from Laura. Hi, Laura. I hope you're on the webinar tonight. She's from up in Massachusetts, Westboro. Awesome. So she's saying here, let's see, I tried to reach last week, follow up with a conversation, but I think your travel, so to refresh your memory, I've been confused. Go over my database to identify good investors. I've done that, so now I'm ready for step 2. I listened to modules 1 and 2. I'm very excited about the program. Well, thank you very much. And the niche. So actually, what we're going to do, Laura, tonight is we're actually going to get into a little bit about what you do in the very beginning. So it's kind of an uncanny that you sent this email when you sent it. So we'll go over that. And Laura, also remember, I'm traveling up your way Sunday, so by all means, give me a call. Okay. Let's see. School report. Can we do it at the state level? That might be a little bit difficult, Laura, because there are so many school districts within a state, and up in Canada. Um, there's we don't even search by school district. We search by area. So just for general purposes, you want to keep your school report or your area report, if that's the case, centered around where you're servicing people. Okay, so if your market center is in Westboro, you just want to do the school districts that are around Westboro, maybe within a half-hour drive, maybe an hour, depending on how rural it is. And Boston's not a very rural area. Okay, so a state would be quite large, and the data would be so uh, diluted because it's mass data. It really wouldn't be too helpful. You need micro area data, not macro area data, and that's why we use the individual school districts or high school codes in some cases, and area codes up in Canada. Okay, to do that. So and we've had students have to create their own school report. And by the way, yes, if you please email Beverly, she will give you all of the students up in your area, and there's several dozen of them. So definitely hook up with those guys. They got a mastermind group going. You're in Westboro, you definitely want to tap into that group, Laura. That I actually helped them launch their mastermind group. I did I was up there teaching, and I helped them facilitate their first mastermind group to show them how to do it. And it's a great way to elevate your game. Absolutely. Okay, so that's Laura's email. And we had another one from Chris Shea. And let's open up Chris's. And Chris, by the way, Chris, long time no see, buddy. I know it's been, I think it was springtime since I was out there. So looks like you were developing materials for your first seminar. Awesome. So you must have heard the last 4 weeks where we basically gave you the format for the classroom platform. It's like an investor workshop, but it's extended over a 4 week period, and you set it up as a classroom type format, and you teach them. This is what you do when you do flips. This is what you do when you do rentals. This is what you do when you do wholesaling. So maybe that's where you got this idea to do your first seminar. And quick question for you. I know you're not an attorney, but you mentioned doing LLCs for properties. Do you set them up yourself online or have an attorney do that for you? Okay. I'm glad you asked this. It does come up a lot, Chris. And, I am not an attorney. That's why if you look at a lot of my material, training guides and books, I always put in there, I'm not an attorney. I ask people to repeat after me. I, Gary Wilson, am not an attorney. However, I will tell you what I did in my own experience. I did have an attorney set up my first LLC for owning properties. And then after that, I did my own LLCs because I simply clone what I had for the first one. And I capped mine off at $1 million. I never put more than $1 million in any one LLC. That is $1 million in real estate holdings. Okay. I wanted to spread my eggs across multiple baskets. And I know investors who actually set up individual LLCs for each individual property. I think that's overkill, to be honest with you. That's a lot of paperwork, particularly at tax time. Historically, and I had this conversation earlier, in fact, with another student on a phone call. Over all the years, I've been in this for 30 years, hundreds of properties, okay? On my property holdings, I never, ever got sued personally for anything, okay? Over all those years, I never even had an LLC get sued because a couple of things here. When you're in the rental business, your first line of defense is you being a good landlord, a good property owner. You want to keep your property safe, clean, reliable, and up to code. That's your first line of defense as a rental property owner. Second line of defense is your property insurance, your homeowner's insurance, okay? Now, I have had policy claims on homeowner's insurance because one time the daughter of one of our tenants walked outside. It was freezing rain, so it froze the sidewalk and the steps of her stairs. That wasn't the problem. The problem was we just put in a handrail and literally put it in that day, and apparently the mortar was still setting, and she grabbed the handrail because she slipped on the ice and yanked the handrail right out of the setting and ended up spraining her ankle. So we got a couple $200 claim on that. But it didn't cost me a dime out of my own pocket because that's a medical claim, and medical claims there's no deductible that you have to pay there. Okay, well, that was pretty cool. Matter of fact, I didn't even have to do anything. The guy called me up, The insurance guy sent me a form. I signed it, sent it in, and that was all that was. So that's it. After all those years, 30 years and 250 units, not to mention all the flips I've had. So, and there were other claims, like we had a fire one time, and I forget there was something else, but the insurance always took care of things, okay? Any case, so back to the LLCs. After I set up the first LLC, I did set up, or I had an attorney set up my first LLC. I did set up subsequent LLCs because I had a model. I just simply cloned the model. It was the same concept, same principle. I'm the single member, so it's the same single member, and it saved me a good bit of money. Okay, so I hope that answers your question effectively, Chris. Let's see here. If, by the way, you can buy properties in your own name. It's not like you can't do it. The problem is if you do that, you could be personally at risk. If somebody decided to sue you because they slipped and fell on the ice or something, they're not going to go to an LLC because there is none. They're going to go to you personally. Now, again, first thing that's going to happen is your insurance company will kick in and you're probably going to be okay. But the reason the LLC is important is it separates you from direct ownership of the property, which means it separates you from liability for stuff that happens at the property, okay? So let's do a quick check here on questions before I go forward. Let's see. To Chris Shea, I use LegalZoom.com. That's from Peter Lamb. Yeah, hi, Peter. Thank you. And LegalZoom, we've actually used that before also, Peter and Chris, for a number of different reasons. You get all the forms out there. It's fairly well recognized. It is pretty inexpensive. And, for simple basic stuff, it does work pretty well. I will throw this caveat out there, guys, when it comes to LLCs. What Peter just said there is very true for single member LLCs. However, I would encourage you, if you're setting up an LLC with another party, another person, it could be a relative, a spouse, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, could be friend, neighbor, relative, something. I would always have an attorney do that because you want to document your exit strategy. See, here's the big problem with LLCs in partnerships is people always get into partnerships when everybody's feeling good and happy and they love each other and everybody's going to make a lot of money. Everything's great, but they never anticipate what would happen should one of life's eventualities occur, like death or divorce or a loss of a job. Okay, those things can and do happen. And what you want to do is with a partnership is document those eventualities and what you would do with the partnership should one of those things occur. Have it predetermined, predefined, while you're sane and healthy and loving each other. Do that when everything is good. Document all that when everything's good so that you don't have to make decisions when you're in crisis mode, okay? So that's my preaching moment for the night. You don't set up LLCs because you love each other. You do set up LLCs because you do love each other. I've had people tell me that, oh, we don't need to do all that because we're married or we're brothers. I'm like, no. You do it because you're brothers. You do it because you're married. You honor the relationship by documenting what would happen should some of those life events occur. Okay. Let's see. Here's a message from Lou. Hi, Lou. How are you? Okay. Let's see. Sorry for redundance. I have a first-time investor buying a condo. Are you saying she should have an LLC and adequate homeowners insurance? Yeah. So insurance, Lou, and the LLC are absolutely separate, two different things. So the insurance, you should always have homeowners insurance on every property you own, okay? And again, I highly encourage people to buy the properties within an LLC. So the property insurance on the property, the LLC would actually be named as the owner and not the individual person. So the LLC will be named as the owner, okay? And sometimes if you have a loan on it, the bank will want to be named as the second person to be notified in case there's something wrong with, the default on the policy, for example. So in any case, yes, set up an LLC and also have homeowners insurance. That's from Lou. Thanks, Lou. Okay, let's see. This is from Lana. Hi, Lana. Would you be able to go over how to screen potential tenants, maybe in another class, with the eviction process taking 4 to 6 months? For non-payment in Ontario, screening becomes crucial. I tell you what, Lana, that is a good one. And yes, let's do that next week. And we do help you with that subject. So next week's webinar is going to be Tuesday night. So let me write this down. IA screening tenants. Okay, so we will go over that next week. Thanks, Lana, for that heads up. And yeah, there's 4 to 6 months is sounds pretty rough, but there are parts of North America, for example, New York City. Guys, it could take longer than that to get people evicted. Now, people down in Florida have it pretty nice. They can get people out easily within a month, easily within 30 days. Okay, California is another tough state. Usually, the bigger, more populated areas have the more strict rules. So that's a good question, and we'll definitely cover that. Thanks, Lana, for doing that. Let's see here. Lou says, okay, should it be set up prior to placing an offer when you place the offer with the buyer? Yes. So Lou, what you're asking here is, should you have the LLC set up prior to purchase? And the answer is yes, you should. If you need to make an offer quickly and the LLC is not set up, then when you make the offer, Lou, right in there is the buyer, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, and then the words and/or assigns. That means you can assign that contract to a subsequent buyer. You can basically assign a sales agreement or even sell it. That's what you use when you actually sell a contract in wholesaling, by the way. But then what you can do, Lou, is when you get it under contract, go ahead and file your paperwork for the LLC, and then when the LLC comes in, you simply do an addendum. You modify the sales agreement to reflect that the LLC is now the legal purchaser of the property. So that's what you can do if you're in a hurry. Okay. Let's see. Thank you, Gary. You're welcome, Lana. Okay. Hang on one second. Okay, what I want to do, guys, this is really for the sake of some of the newer folks and even some of you veteran agents who are, sometimes you kind of need to go back to basics. And I love to use the analogy of Larry Bird. Larry Bird, of course, is a retired NBA professional basketball player for the Boston Celtics. So shout out to all you guys up in the Boston area. Used to play on those old parquet floors. I remember that. In Boston Gardens. How's that for a flash from the past? But Larry Bird, on the day he retired, he was interviewed, and the interviewer asked him, he said, "So what'd you do today, Larry?" And I'm sure the interviewer expected to get an answer. "Oh, I slept in late. I played golf. I had, breakfast out on the patio." No, what Larry Bird said was, "You know what? I did the same thing I've been doing my entire basketball career going back to junior high school, which is I dribble the ball 3,000 times, I pass the ball 2,000 times, and I shoot the ball 1,000 times." Whatever it was, some crazy number like that. He does that for hours. He focuses on the fundamentals. He always did every day of his professional basketball career. And I highly recommend and encourage you guys to always focus on the fundamentals too. In fact, think about the sport of karate, okay? In karate, you start off as a white belt and you end up as a black belt. Different degrees of black belt. The irony is the student who's the beginning student with the white belt and the student who's the senior advanced black belt both practice the same kata. It's called a kata. The difference is the black belt has done it 10,000 times. He's perfected his game by practicing it over and over and over again. Repetition is the mother of learning and the mother of success and the mother of profitability. So when it comes to real estate investing, it's no different. The more you focus on the fundamentals and practice, the more successful you're going to be. So that's my second movement of preaching tonight. We're going to get into what I'm talking about. Okay? I want everybody to make sure you've got a pen or pencil handy and paper. Okay? Because I'm going to give this to you. I know we've done this before in the past, so this may be a repeat for some of you, but it's good to repeat. This is the exact prototype concept that you want to hear over and over again, okay, because it's so fundamental and foundational. In fact, we were talking about this today. Your contact management system oftentimes will be your start in this investor agent business, because what we know statistically is, on average, about 10% of your current clients, not even if you don't consider them investors, okay, they're just clients from the owner-occupied business, 10% of them, turns out, either have already invested in the past, are currently thinking about investing, or are reading a book and taking classes on investing. Okay, the sad irony is they typically don't think of you as being the person to go to when it comes to buying investments. They typically think of you as the person to go to that help them buy and sell their own home. Okay, that's why every now and then you get the odd question, hey, do you ever do investments? Now you would think it'd be kind of obvious, especially for you guys in this program, but it's not to the consumer. So the other thing too, the other side of the coin is this. Until now, many of you have never considered your existing clients, the ones that you've already served in the owner-occupy world, is being candidates for investing, which is a sad irony because it turns out, in fact, 10% of them do. They want to invest. They just need you to show up at the right time, in the right place, with the right tools and the right information. So in any case, what I like to have students do is, and I would do this on a regular basis because every day you should be adding people to your contact management system. And I suggest do this every quarter, which is this. Go through your contact management system. And if you've never done it before, the first time through, what you're going to do is take your time for each person on your contact management system. Ask these two questions. Number one, how do I know this person? And number two, what do I know about this person? So I'll give you a second to write that down. How do you know them and what do you know about them? Just an open-ended question, just general terms, not anything specific, okay? That's the first two things you do. The third thing is this. Now you go back to your notes and you say, okay, is this person least likely to want to invest or most likely to want to invest? And you rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely, okay? And go through your database, and once you've reviewed how you know them and what you know about them, you rank them 1 to 10. And it's all intuitive. It's not like you have any analytical basis. This is intuitive. Okay, do you think they'd make a good investor or would be interested in investing? Scale of 1 to 10. Okay, that's one of the very first things you do. The other thing I do is this. Even before you go through and rank your current clients to see who may or may not want to invest, is you should actually build your contact management system much more thoroughly, because you probably have it built right now just based on who's called you from your marketing, who you've got through referrals, all that typical stuff. But that's not a complete contact management system. What makes it complete is this, and this is one of my old tried and true secrets to building a contact management system from scratch. It is this: get out the phone book, okay, and start going through it, literally A to Z, and for every category, accountant to zookeeper, on your contact management system, build a little segmentation there, so you can categorize everybody by vocation, and you can also sort it alphabetically this way too, by the way. So you go through and you ask yourself, who do I know who's an accountant? Who do I know who is an architect? Who do I know, who is an apple farmer? Anybody in the A group, and you write those down. The first way is you just simply write down the name, because you want to get in the mode of identifying them. You don't want to worry about right now about emails and phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. You'll do that in the second way. You go through to the B's. Who do I know who's a beekeeper, a bookkeeper, whatever the case is, okay, beautician. C, who do I know who's a chiropractor? You get the picture. You go through the letters of the alphabet in your phone book. The reason you do it by vocation is because that's almost always how you identify people. Because when you first meet them, usually you ask them, hey, what do you do? So, and if in fact you think about it, when you introduce people or you're talking about someone else, to someone else, you might say, oh, yeah, my friend Joe, he's an accountant. It's so common we don't even think about it anymore. So you go through and basically handwrite or fill in an Excel spreadsheet everybody you know in all those different vocations. D is going to be dentist, E is going to be engineer. There's all kinds of engineers. It goes on down the line. F, financial planner. Okay, go through the phone book to get the categories and ask yourself, who do you know in those businesses? And you'd be so shocked at how many people you can come up with. Okay, and the good news is this: a lot of them are going to be in the phone book. So while you're in the phone book, get their names and phone numbers. Okay, now you go add them to your contact management system, and I would do that. Spend, say, 10 minutes every day on a different letter of the alphabet, and at the end of the month, you'll have a complete contact management system with hundreds of names. So everybody, I want you to give me a shout out there. I know what I described to you sounds like it's so simple it's almost crazy, but sometimes the most profound truths in life are the most simple truths. And I can tell you from hard and fast experience and from teaching this for years, that is absolutely the one most best fundamental ways to build a robust contact management system, the way I just described it to you. So let me get some responses from you guys, and any ahas, any light bulbs. Um, okay, Ricardo says, what CRM do you use? And Ricardo, funny thing you should ask, because I have a series of interviews coming up. By the way, make sure you guys listen to the interviews we put out there that we broadcast each month. Last month was actually from the Boston area, Kelly O'Keefe. That was an awesome freaking interview. She doesn't even invest herself, and yet she's been serving investors for 10 years. And she's mastered the art of working with wholesalers. You guys should listen to that one. It's all on the database here, by the way. Let's see. Let's see who else. Howard. I just interviewed Howard from Pennsylvania. That's coming out. It may have already been put out there this month. In fact, I think it was actually. Howard Grebe from Langhorne, Pennsylvania. That's where he's from. Okay. Let's see. In any case, what I was getting to, Ricardo, is I'm going to interview our very own Beverly. Beverly has been with me for years. She's a master of the contact management system. And by the way, since you asked, I'll just tell you, we use Top Producer. Top Producer is a well-recognized industry standard in the real estate business. In fact, they're a key service partner with Keller Williams. In fact, even though Keller Williams has E-Edge and E-Agency, they actually they're so tightly woven together. KW and Top Producer Top Producer actually has the KW marketing campaigns from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. How about that? So that's a good. So if you go with the Top Producer, please mention my name. I don't get anything out of it, but maybe those guys should buy me a beer sometime. I've been using them for years. I love them. So in any case, I'm going to interview Beverly for you guys, and we're going to talk about our contact management system, and we'll bring it up right here on the computer, just like this is. It'll be on the screen. You guys can see what she does, how she does it. So now let me get a shout out and see how you guys like the idea of that interview, our very own Beverly. By the way, Susan says Kelly was great. Yeah, you're right, Sue. Kelly is awesome. She's an awesome service partner, and she shares and gives. She was very generous to give her time to the interview. I love that lady. Okay, this is from Dave. Yeah, Beverly rocks. Yes, she does. Beverly's like, boy, I tell you what, guys, if you ever find somebody like Beverly, consider yourself blessed. She's an absolute rock star, loyal, hardworking. I love that lady, and I just gave her well, I don't want to put it out there too loud. She had a very good year this year. Okay, yeah, Beverly is awesome. Thanks, Lana. And when was Kelly O'Keefe interview? I tell you what, guys, since you're asking this, I got some good news for you. Let me flip over to something real quick here. We have our membership section is up. It's live. We haven't promoted it yet. We haven't put it out there for you guys. You're all going to get a link, your own private login and password. But in there, we put the copies of our webinars with the subject matter. So you'll see on October 8th, we talked about lease options and a bus tour. Okay, so you can click on these and bring up that recorded webinar by subject matter. Now at the bottom here, we have interviews with students. So Kelly O'Keefe, I think, Lou, that was sent out in September, I think around September 20th or 22nd or something like that. But in the website, so all you do, or Lou, once you get your login, go in here, click on Kelly O'Keefe interview, and bingo, you get the full interview with Kelly O'Keefe. You can listen to it anytime you want. So check this out, guys. You get all the recordings from the webinars. You get the student interviews. You get all the books, the ebooks, all the marketing techniques, all the docs, all the calculators and training forms. All this stuff is going to be now at your fingertips with a click of a button. Okay. So I told you we've been working on that. We've been working diligently, really putting in, 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes to make all this work for you. And we're finally within a nose hair of it. Okay. Let's see here. That was awesome. That's awesome. Yes. Oh, thanks, Lou. Okay. So how to get off on that tangent? let me go back to where I was. Hang on one second, guys. I was here, I think. I was here. Okay, so back to the contact management system. We're going to interview Beverly. Everybody will be invited to it, of course, and if you can't make it, you'll get the recording, and you'll see exactly what she does with Top Producer. Pretty awesome, awesome stuff, okay? In any case, back to you guys when you're first getting started. You know, I don't want to go over this whole list here because I have other things I want to go over. What I wanted to do was make sure everybody takes their contact management system very seriously. It's actually, you know, you've heard me say before, you start with who you are and where you are and what you know, and that means you start right where you are right now with your current contact management system. Even if it's only a few dozen people, what I just told you about using the phone book will easily help you get to 200 to 300 people in within a month, even people that you just might not have otherwise thought of, okay? And of course, you keep your existing people in there, people you've gotten to know from other transactions, from prior transactions. What this is help you make it more full and more complete, because you might not be remembering everybody when you're going at it which is what I call the old-fashioned way, which is trying to pull it out of your head. You know, if you have something like a phone book to go through by vocation, it helps you recall people more readily, because that's how we associate people is based on what they do. Okay. Okay. So everybody cool with what I just showed you on how to build up your contact management system? That was number one. And number two is how do you actually segregate them, or actually not segregate them, classify them as far as being most likely or least likely to invest. If I could get some shout outs here on the question box, I just want to make sure you guys understand everything and you're okay with it. And more importantly, I want to see you make a commitment to actually do that. Again, 10 minutes every day is all it takes, guys. 10 minutes a day. Do it before you go to bed when you're relaxed and you're able to focus more. That's a great time to do it. Okay. Let's see here. That's part number one and number two. We talked about that. You know, and the reason you do that, by the way, is now you have a contact management system that you can use to generate cash flow. Now you know who to send articles from the newspaper to. Now you know who to send online articles and blogs to get them interested. If you think they are interested in investing, find out by sending them articles and information. And also, this is a good idea. How about calling them or emailing them? I would call them personally. I'd even text them. In fact, I do this a lot, guys. I test to see how people respond, what they're most likely to respond to. And you'd be shocked. It's not just younger people who respond to text messages and older people who respond to phone calls. It's both, you know. There really is there's no statistic that shows that, you know, older people don't like text messages. I mean, if they're in their 80s, yeah, they might not like text messages. I get it. But I've got plenty of clients and colleagues well into their 60s, and they're my age group, so I don't consider them elderly. I think they're wiser, and they have no problem texting. Okay, just like my children do in their 20s. All right. Any case, once you've identified them, now you can start to send them information like blogs and articles. Okay, and more importantly, give them a call and say, hey, you know what? I saw this really good duplex the other day. I thought was a good deal, and I thought of you. I don't know. It's just a shot in the dark, but have you ever thought about investing? And the ones you've identified as 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, don't be surprised if you start to get a few yeses. Hey, you know what? I have thought about that, but I just never did anything with it. I don't know who to call. Now you've got an open invitation to show them what you've got. Show them your tools, show them your calculator, show them your spreadsheets, show them some sample listings, and get them interested in the game of investing. So in other words, your goal, the concept is called 3 feet from gold. You might have within your contact management system, 1, 10, 20 transactions you don't know unless you go through this exercise here, 1 through 3, all right, to figure out who they are. Actually, 1 through 4, to be honest with you. So 1 through 4 is that. Build your database, rank them based on who's most likely, least likely to invest, start communicating with them, send them blogs and even stuff in the mail, and give them a phone call or a text message, okay? And just basically prompt them. Say, hey, I thought about you when I saw this property. What do you think? And if you did that one person every single day that you ranked, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, don't be surprised if you start getting transactions that way. Okay, so hopefully you guys will take that to heart, because I can tell you from my experience when I first got started, that was an awesome technique for me to get started. I didn't know what else to do. I came up with that on my own. It turns out it worked like a charm. Okay, that is the first thing I wanted to show you tonight. I just gave you a glimpse of the website, so we're going through the editing and proofing right now, and once that's done, Beverly's going to send everybody their own login and their own password to the website. Now let me check here the attendees real quick, because we should have some newer folks on. Let's see here. Yes, we do. Hot Tickety Dog. Welcome aboard, guys. We've got some seasoned veterans on too. But I want to see if there's anybody that really needs more input on the first four on basically your content management system. If you do, I don't mind at all working with you privately. Just let me know and we can do that. But this is a heck of a way to start generating business with literally no cost. Okay, starting there. All right, let's do this, guys. I want to get into some of the other content that I've been getting questions on, and I think I'm going to start right here, which is the maximum allowable offer. Now, we just went over this a little over a month ago, so some of you this is repeat, but I've been getting so many questions on it because a lot of people are out there working with flippers right now. It seems to be a hot topic right now, and of course that's why we're teaching that training program, because people are getting, I guess their clients are asking them, hey, I want to go flip. So we're going through the development phase on that. But it's actually the simplest formula to learn, and it basically goes like this. When you're flipping homes, or in your case, you're representing investors who are flipping homes, one of the first things you want to determine for that property is, even before they buy it, what would be a likely ARV? In other words, what is a likely after repair value for that property? Okay, after repair value, which is what is fair market value. Okay, so in other words, if you determine from your neighborhood report and melissadata.com and your census data from your either Canada Stats or US Census.gov, that you're in the right area, right neighborhoods. You know the 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home should sell for between $260 and $280, for example. Then your ARV is going to be somewhere in that range, between $260 and $280, depending on certain amenities. Does it have a deck? Does it have a 2-car garage versus 1-car? Whatever the case is, you determine ARV as best you can. So that's after repair value. You always start with that. So if you're looking at a house in a neighborhood where the ARV for 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses is $280, for example, that's always your starting number. Then you subtract from that number what are your costs. And cost, it says cost here, but it's really the combination of your profit margin and your overhead. So I like to use a 20% profit margin and a 10% overhead figure. So I subtract 30% right out of the gate. If I'm shooting for $280 on a final sales price once I've remodeled and I'm selling the home, I'm going to subtract 30% of that, and that's my starting point. In other words, even if the house needed no repairs, I can't spend more than 30% off of ARV and buy that property for that price. So let me give you an example here. Let's use something very simple. Let's use $100,000, okay, as our ARV. In other words, we're going to flip a home in a neighborhood where the average home price is $100,000. Right out of the gate, I'm going to subtract 30% from that, which is $30,000. So that means I cannot pay more than $70,000 for any house in that neighborhood, okay? No more than 70. That's without accounting for my repairs. So the next thing I do is, from the 70,000 that's left, so 100,000 minus 30,000 gives me 100,000. Gives me 70,000, excuse me. So 100,000 minus 30 gives me 70. If I determine the place needs $20,000 in repairs, now that takes me down to $50,000. So I have to be able to find homes for $50,000. And yes, you can do that, because there's plenty of people going through divorce, through a probate, which is estates, people who have deceased, bankruptcy, foreclosure, all kinds of possibilities, all right? Even people who just simply, they're not in distress in any way, shape, or imagination. They just have an older home, older home meaning everything, the wallpaper, the cabinetry, the carpeting, windows, the whole 9 yards, okay? Spells opportunity. So the bottom line is your MAO, on the example I gave you, $100,000 final value after repairs, minus your 30%, which is 20% profit and 10% overhead, leaves you 70, minus your 20,000 repair cost, leaves you 50,000. So that's the most you can pay. That's why we call it a MAO, maximum allowable offer. Okay, so that's maximum allowable offer. It's quite simple. It's a real simple formula. Let's see here. Do we have a copy of this PDF? I can't seem to locate one with that title. Yes, this is actually in your. This is Jenna. Hi, Jenna. This is in your training materials. So this is going to be in Module 2. So Module 1 is delivered when you first sign up. Module 2, you'll get the Monday of the following week. And this is in Module 2. This is where this can be found, okay? And so everybody gets that when you first sign on for the program. So that's the MAO, guys. Real simple, real basic. I just want to make sure you guys, let's see. So this is Ricardo. So you look for props at 50K listing price or 100,000 list price, and then do your numbers. No, so actually, Ricardo, what I do is I'm looking for properties priced at or near $50,000. Okay, but the reason is I want to make an offer that's a good offer. I don't want to make a 50% on dollar offer. That's where investors get into trouble, and that's why so many agents get frustrated working with those investors, because they don't do their homework and they just try to make any old offer on any old property comes up, hoping for a miracle. Well, hoping for a miracle is not a way to run a business. What you do is you look for the properties that are in, positioned to be good investments once they're properly bought and properly remodeled. So I'm looking for properties that are listed closer at the $50,000 mark. I'm also looking for properties that aren't necessarily listed on the MLS. Okay, I'm going to use my letter that I give you guys in a program to approach not just people who own rental properties that might want to sell. I use it also for FSBOs, expireds, divorcees, bankruptcy, foreclosure, probate. That letter can be used for all those purposes, and it's great. That's a great way to drum up inventory for those guys, for your flippers. That is okay. So good question, Ricardo. Okay, that's the MAO. Now the next thing I want to show you is, because we've done the opportunity evaluator a lot, which is this. We've gone over this a lot. What I'd like to do is I want to go to what I call the rental property reporter. And again, everybody gets the link for this, and that's right here. So a lot of people don't use this. I don't know why. It's actually a hyperlink. You get it in your training manual. You can see here's the URL right here. I'm dragging my cursor across it. So if you want to go ahead and jot this down while you're looking at this screen, go ahead and write it down. Okay, or if you want to take a screen image on your computer, you can download software to take a screenshot of your computer, and you'll capture this link or this URL. Okay. So in any case, let's just play with this a little bit. I'm going to go up, bring this up, and let's see. Price paid, including capital improvements. So let's just say we're looking at, and this is good. By the way, the last formula is used for flips. This calculator is used for rentals. Okay. So let's say we're going to purchase a rental property for $100,000. That's our what we paid for it. It didn't need any capital improvements. No capital improvements needed. So we just paid a flat $100,000. We're going to put down 20%. Let's assume we put down 20%, which is $20,000. That means we get a mortgage for $80,000. Okay, and our mortgage rate, let's just say it's going to be 4% right now. Okay. Now let's click on assumptions here. Okay, assumptions, loan term. I prefer 20-year terms, so let's make that 240 months. Okay, purchase cost, which is what was your outlay on the HUD sheet related to transfer taxes, all that kind of stuff, and let's just say 1% is okay for that. Okay, so far so good. All right, now let's go down to expected rents. I expect to collect in rents off of that property, gross monthly rents in the area of, let's just say, $1,500. Oops, too many. $1,500 per month on a purchase price of $100,000. So that gives me a cap rate of 18%. Very interesting, okay? But we're not done yet because we got to throw in a bunch of other expenses down here, the cost of doing business. So vacancy rate, that is way, way too high. Right now, vacancy rates are unbelievably low, between 2 and 3%. So let's just say 3% for vacancy rate. Rent increases, rents are still on the increase, guys. They're going to be on the increase for another 6 to 8 years. That's 6 to 8 years, not 68. So we think what we're in right now, as far as rental increases go, is going to last to somewhere between the years 2021 and 2023. That's just a projection, but I believe in it because I know the people who are coming up with these projections and I trust them. So let's just say rent increases are going to be more conservative, say 3%. Okay. Okay, property improvements. Now, because up here we decided we're not going to have any capital improvements, the property's okay the way it is. I'm going to leave that 0 for now. So let's see what some of the assumptions are. Property management 10%. Let's leave that alone. Maintenance 1%. Let's leave that. Insurance costs 0.5. Yeah, let's leave that. Move in, move out costs. Cost to change, per change in tenant replacement fees, make ready, all that kind of stuff. That seems a little steep to me. But you know what the heck? Let's leave it there and see what happens. Okay. Okay. Sale of the investment property. Sales price. Let's see what some of the assumptions are. All right. Selling cost is 6% of the sales price, which is $7,300. Appreciation rate was 4% per year. Let's make that 3%. Okay. Now, and by the way, the sale of the property is, I think this is based on a 5-year holding period. It doesn't say that, but I'm pretty sure. And in fact, I can just tell. Let's just change this to 1% and see what happens. Oops. That is 1%. So you can see, yeah, it says over a 5-year period. So 1% for 5 years cumulatively gives us $105,101. Let's go back up here and say appreciation was 3%. Why isn't that taking that? Let's go 3. Okay, good. Now we're back up to 115. So we would sell it in 5 years for $115,927, which is essentially $116,000. I would never sell a property in 5 years unless there was some real compelling reason to do so, but I would sell it after 10 years. And certainly 12 years. Okay, and I have my own reasons for that. Some people hold them for 30, some people hold them for 20, some people hold them for 7. I just chose for myself between 10 and 12 years. Okay, all right, let's see here. Value of the land. Let's assume the land is only worth $5,000. Whoops. Yep, 5% is $5,000. So tax basis is $95,000. Property tax rate. Let's see what some of the assumptions are first. Our tax rate, let's just leave that 25%. Capital gains, let's leave that at 15%. Inflation, let's leave it 2%. Investment hurdle rate. In other words, that's what you've got to get to make it more compelling versus other investments like stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Okay, but back up here, property tax rate. I'm going to say, let's say 3% for that. Okay. All right. Now we're filling in all these fields. Eventually, what we're going to come up with down here is a return on investment. Okay. We're going to get all the returns. So we got all of our fields filled in. All right. Now, if you think about it, when you compare this to the opportunity evaluator, which is down here, I like this myself personally because I get all of these expense categories that I can fill in. I get to play with it by changing rents, changing the purchase price and the mortgage information. And it always gives me the adjusted cap rates and debt coverage ratios and all that. Okay, so that's what's different here. If you look at here, a lot more details, a lot more information. When I go back here, it gets more general in nature. I don't get to get into all of the expenses. I just get basically a general category of what it takes for maintenance, for example, and property management. That's kind of vague and kind of general. Okay, selling costs, we did that. Value of the land, we did that. And let's go down here and look at our returns. So initially, upon initial investment, you're in the hole, not really, but you basically plunk down $20,000, which is 20%. So now you got to make that up. over time. You got to recoup your capital. You've got to replenish your capital. So over the period of 5 years, you can see what your returns are over the years. 3,000, 4,000, 4,200, 4,500, 41,000 is cumulative. That's why it's 41,000. It's not like all of a sudden you're ahead of the game by 41 grand, which is 10 times the prior year. Okay. But if you add all these up and net it out, it comes to $37,000 cash flow over a 5-year period. Okay. By the way, this is your internal rate of return, projected internal rate of return. You can see that's a 28%, 29% internal rate of return. Return on cash investment is 185%. So again, you put down 20,000 and you get 37 back. That's a 185% return on cash invested. Okay. All right, that's probably all I want to go into right now for this rental property reporter. There is more you can do. If you click on this, you get a lot of, oops, it's going the wrong way. You get a lot of other information, cash flows and return on investment details. Okay. You also can get yearly financial projections, details of that. Okay, pretty awesome stuff. You get return on investment table details. Okay, you get all this good stuff here. So you can see what your return on your investment. So if you initially put down 20% and you look at appreciation, take taxes out, your net cash flow, then the net increase to your net worth, you can see your returns, your percentage returns. Pretty awesome stuff. You also get year-end balance details. Okay, so this is you can see this tool is pretty awesome. I love this tool. All right, now can you imagine giving this tool to your investors, which you should do? That's why we give it to you. We want you to give this to your investors, let them play with it, plug in some values, and do play money, and they will love it because you're the one who gave them this formula, gave them this calculator. Okay. All right, now let me see if we got any questions on this. Let's see. This is from Ricardo. Ricardo, you look at props at 50,000 K listing price or 100,000 listing price, and then okay, we've already talked about that, so we did cover that. All right, what I want to do, guys, is see if we have any questions on this subject here, the rental property reporter. Okay, and again, I highly encourage you to play with this and save this URL, save it on your address line of your computer. You can save it in a link and also send it to your clients that way too. You just simply do like this, highlight it, copy it, paste it in an email, and give it to your clients that way. Okay, I love this tool. Okay, let's see here. We are now at 8:05, so we're pretty much done for the night. Next week, if you guys want, I will go over the opportunity evaluator, which might be a great segue coming into that from going over screening tenants. So let me write that down. Next week, we're going to go into screening tenants. That is going to be Tuesday the 27th. So opportunity evaluator will be subject number 2 for next week. So in any case, guys, I appreciate you being on the webinar tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate all the questions. And I hope that first part, which again is building blocks, fundamental stuff, that you really, really take to heart, guys. I tell you, when I get you on the phone, that's one of the things I'm going to ask you. And for those of you who call me on a regular basis, like Lou, I know Lou, we've gone over that before. Your contact management system. So in any case, it's very profound, the impact that can have on your business, going over that contact management system. Okay, I got some questions here. Let me go back to this real quick here. So this is from Susan. Should I do the analysis for each property myself so I know what it is out there, or do you just send out new listings to my investors? Yeah, what I want you to do, Susan, is I want you to give these tools to your investors. Okay, show them how to use them if you need to. I mean, some of them can figure this out on their own. But go over this with your investors with some sample properties. Show them how that works and give them these tools, and give them all of the properties, all the listings, whether it's from the MLS or from your own marketing efforts using a letter campaign, for example. Okay, the bottom line is you want your investors to have skin in the game, to roll up their sleeves, have skin in the game, to do the analysis themselves. You don't want to be doing the analysis on these properties. You can do it from time to time. If you have time on your hands and you're trying to get new investors involved, then yes, you should do that to show them what's possible and show them how to use it by all means. Okay. All right. This is. Let me see here. What next question we have? That was Susan. Okay. Next one is from Pat. Okay. Hi, Pat. Pat says, I sound cynical, but aren't you concerned that clients will purchase property by themselves or cut you out of the deal? Never. I don't know how that would happen because, me giving them these calculators, that all that does is give them a tool to do the analysis. They still need you to provide them the inventory too. You've got to provide them the inventory. And Pat, you're always going to have these guys under a buyer's agency agreement, okay? And remember, because of the way we come across these clients, the way we market to them and get to know them and build that relationship is you have built-in loyalty. So I never ever had a client go somewhere else because you know what? No other agent's giving them these tools. I'm the only one giving them these tools. And I'm giving them all the inventory, okay? In fact, if you give them inventory that's not on the MLS, obviously you don't do that without an agreement ahead of time. You've got to have an agreement ahead of time to protect yourself. Is it possible people will do that out in the world? It sure is. Everybody's capable of good and bad, and I've learned myself because I tend to be a little on the naive side that there are truly evil people out there. They just don't give a crap. But I protect myself by using this program, and I only work with brand new people out of the gate. I don't work with existing investors because they're already conditioned to want to treat me like a commodity, and I'm not a commodity, okay, and neither are you. So we condition them right from the start of the relationship, build that relationship on solid ground by giving them the tools and the information to be successful, and it works like a charm. Okay, this is Tammy. Tammy says, what are the yearly tax benefits to our investors, if any, for a rental property? There's actually in the training program, Tammy, there's and you're going to get a bonus module, Module 7, that gives you 10 tax strategies for your investors to use. But the bottom line is this, the basic benefits are this. Owning rental properties is number one, you've got your net operating income, which is your income after your expenses, okay? So you've got net operating income. Number two is you have appreciation. The properties go up in value over time, okay? Number three is you get depreciation, which is what you're asking here. The annual tax benefit initially is you get to write off about 3.41% of the value of the property, whatever your cost basis is, that is, every year for 30 years. So you get to write off 3.41% without having to have any real actual expenses associated with that. It's just a paper write-off, a phantom write-off. It's just the government gives that to you for the privilege of owning the property. Okay. Now, you also get equity buy down, which means this. Every month you gain another chunk of equity in the property because your mortgage is gradually being paid off by the rents coming in from your tenants. Okay, that's number four. Number five is at the end of the day, you can still sell the property for capital gain. You might sell it like me 10 and 12 years later, hold it for 30 years or whatever the case is. But that's the fifth way you make money, which is how people make money flipping anyways. I like rentals because I'm still going to sell the property eventually. But in the meantime, I'm going to make a lot of cash flow on it, plus all the tax benefits. So the other big tax benefit, is that Patty that had the question? Yeah, Tammy. I'm sorry, Tammy. Is rental income is called passive income. What that means is, in tax terms, you only have to pay income tax on the rental income. You don't have to pay Social Security on that income. You just pay income tax. Okay, it's a passive income. It's the least taxed income there is. Okay, is passive income, which is rental income. Okay, let's see here. One last question. If you just moved into an area where you don't know anyone, would the letters or workshops be better to start? And this is from Peter. Hi, Peter. Good question. What I would do is I would start with the workshop, Peter. Yeah, if you're new to an area, I would start with the workshop. The booklet, the investor booklet, is another awesome good tool because, quite frankly, you may only know one chiropractor or one dentist anyway. So you're going to have to meet these other chiropractors and dentists. Go ahead and use the booklet to meet those guys, all right? So if your personality type is more passive, you're more of an SC type personality, do the booklet. If you're more of an I type person, on the disc profile, then definitely do the workshop. So it's just a matter of what your personality types is, what you're more comfortable with. You can do both. I mean, if you're just starting off, do the booklet and do the workshop at the same time, okay? And especially if you have time to do it. That's what I would do, Peter. Yeah, the letter you don't use until you actually have clients. You don't use that letter to get listings until you have buyers first. It's different. Remember, with owner occupants, you get listings first. With investors, you get buyers first. Okay. Let's see. That was Patty says that's my aha moment. Oh, thanks, Patty. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. This is Ricardo. Ricardo, they really don't have time or knowledge to find the inventory on a constant basis, and they don't want to lose you. That's Ricardo. Yes, thank you, Ricardo. That's exactly right, Ricardo. They start to depend on you. When I've had clients, I've had guys for 17 years now. 17 years I've had them. All right. Let's see. This is Susan. Will you be going into forming REITs at all? Susan, I can do that. I've actually done a REIT myself, and I've helped another client form a REIT. It's an advanced strategy. If you want to, let me just write that down for next week, since it has to do with our rentals anyways. So next Tuesday, the 27th, I will talk about our REIT. Okay, so we'll do that. Good question. Okay, you're very welcome. Okay, guys, what a great night. And again, awesome questions. You guys are really engaged, and I will give you some good news. The people who do this, who are involved, engage, and ask questions, will typically make the most money the fastest. It's just a certainty. It's just, it's not a guarantee, but it's far more certain that you'll make more money by being involved than not being involved. Okay, you guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you next week. I'll be in Plainville, Massachusetts on Monday, Portsmouth, New Hampshire on Tuesday, and Braintree on Wednesday. And Braintree, when I'm done, I've got to drive out of there lickety-split and get back across the border up into Ontario. For the rest of this week, I'll be in Upper Marlboro, Maryland tomorrow, and I will be in Chantilly, Virginia on Friday. Okay? So thank you guys very much. God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Okay, bye-bye.